We have all these technological opportunities, some of which are themselves unsettling, but some of which can also help us improve society.
With virtual reality, we're on the brink of a transformation that is as big as when the Lumiere brothers invented cinema.
The thing that the creative industries need to be considering is how to leverage the technologies and figure out how they can be implemented and adopted in meaningful ways.
Augmented and virtual reality are very powerful platforms that we are going to be able to figure out how to use in ways that can be very beneficial for society.
VR will change creative industries in that it's an entire new art form.
My worry is that you completely lose track of where you are and your identity as a whole, and you can become anyone, and your brain will interpret it as reality just like anything else.
If we think about climate change, or if we think about exploitative labor practices around the world, these are topics for which we have too many data sets. No human being can make sense of them, and therefore no human storyteller can create a compelling narrative for others to learn from.
As the artificial intelligence gets more sophisticated, the analysis of that data will be much more thorough.
With AI, we have the ability to mash the data together and create visualizations. When we look at the way AI is being monetized, AI is both used to replace and to augment the creativity that is in the human province. But at the same time, creative industry companies can use AI often to replace people.
Blockchain could do very interesting things in the creative economy, enabling, recording, and rewarding behaviors that we want to see.
I think it really gives power back to the end user or the consumer. What blockchain and things like smart contract really allow to do is decentralize that access to information.
What's happening in this world, we have fear of the future, fear that we're going to lose our jobs, fear that some outside stranger is going to take away our livelihood or something else, and bad actors are exploiting those fears.
Various industry bodies need to get out in front of these technologies and figure out how they can be implemented and adopted in meaningful and responsible ways.
It's a really exciting time to be innovating, but one where we really have to not be as wedded to the business models that have succeeded in the past.
We do not believe that government alone is certainly qualified to bring governance and regulation to these technologies. The forum is bringing together multi-stakeholders to talk about these technologies and how they work together and how we need them to work.
It's up to us as content creators to use that technology to make sure that we're telling stories in the formats that will eventually become more mainstream.
And it is also up to designers to make sure that the future technologies will be empowering and not alienating towards people. Ladies and gentlemen, please be welcome to Data-Driven Design Day 2018. My name is Lassi Liikkanen. I'm a design consultant and very happy to be on the stage of Data-Driven Design Day for the 4th time in a row. This year we've convened here at Clarion Hotel at the Helsinki Design Week, but there have been 3 events in the past. Let me see a few hands raised. How many of you were at the very first Data-Driven Design Day in 2015 at Design Museum? Are there any brave souls? At least one. Congrats. How many were at Tavastia Club 2 years ago? More hands coming up. Great. How about last year at the Valkoinen Sali? Even more. But we apparently have caught quite a lot of new audience. And those who did miss out the previous years, don't be afraid. We have a pretty good collection of video recordings from the previous years available online on YouTube, which you can access, for instance, through datadrivenDesignDay.wordpress.com. But this year, we're going to have a brand new program, which is basically thanks to Helsinki Design Week, partners overall, and in particular, Avaus, who is kindly sponsoring us today. So we'll hear more about them later. This year's program, I was asking people to present ideas and come up with stories about seamless experience. My thinking behind the seamless experience was that I was interested about how companies and brands are currently managing omni-channel or multi-channel communications with customers. But as usual, the creation of the program never leads up or ends up quite where I thought it would go. And we're also going to be kind of having a sub-theme of mobility, where we discuss people traveling on land, at sea, and in the air. So you'll kind of see this as being presented different angles through the sessions. We're basically going to have 3 sessions here. In the morning session, we're going to have 4 talks. Then we're going to have a coffee break, which is going to be a little bit less than 30 minutes, so we'll try to catch up with the kind of initial delay here. Then we're going to have a midday session with only 2 talks, including the little bit exclusive keynote from Zalando. And then we're going to have a pretty nice lunch break, 1 hour, 10 minutes. It's going to be needed. I'll tell you a little bit later how it goes. And after lunch, we're going to still see 3 other wonderful presentations. I've basically refrained on the past years about talking my own work, but I do want to kind of use this chance to share with you a little bit of inspiration and insights I've kind of stumbled across upon the year. And first, I'll actually concentrate on a single insight, which should kind of touch upon many of the digital designers here. It's basically an OECD study on computer skills. This is not kind of very new, but it kind of struck me very hard when I eventually saw it. This is about people aged 16 to 65 and their computer skills. And the kind of alarming thing is here that when we're thinking about designing digital touch points, we should kind of bear in mind that there's kind of almost one, even in Scandinavia, we have almost like 30% of people who report terrible computer skills or can't even use computers. This is pretty weird, something to keep in mind. But next, something a little bit more inspirational. I wanted to bring out kind of 3 good readings from the past year. One of them, John Maeda's Design in Tech Report, launched in February, 3rd edition, worthwhile checking into. It has a lot of things related to data-driven design as well. Then we've got a quite interesting, little bit controversial report from China, Professor Ling Fan, Design and Artificial Intelligence report, also in its 2nd edition. Quite intriguing stuff there. And then something that you already kind of got a little bit taste of, by World Economic Forum, they've created a report about creative disruption and how emerging technologies will impact creative economies, which I also count design to be one of. And the video that you saw is actually created by this project. Good reading. Of course, I can't miss the chance also to shamelessly plug my own work. I'm going to come up with a book about experiential Finnish sauna design next spring, so you'll have to wait a little bit longer to read that. But there's actually all kind of nice readings. I think one of the themes in the past about 12 months has been that there's been quite a few books, and also still coming up this fall, about the issues that we are seeing with digital design and digital technology, how it is creating exclusion, bias, sexism, inequality. For designers, I think this should be one of the key issues that you have to bear in mind when designing anything and kind of dealing with data, that how it will affect people overall. So there's kind of a lot of things to read, so I'm sure you'll find something that kind of resonates with you. Now, that's about my kind of inspirational and insight part. We're finally going to go a few practical details about how today will work, so you'll get around and enjoy a good experience. First of all, if you need to get to the Wi-Fi or internet, you'll find an open Wi-Fi called Clarion, free to use. If you need to get to the toilets, you'll find one toilet at the other end of the lobby and one toilet on the other end of the toilet. Both are unisex. Very close to the toilets, there's also a spot for coffee and tea, continuously available during the day. By the way, if you need to get to have a cigarette, you can smoke on the outside balcony. Very nice view to the seaside, but I recommend you still don't spend your whole day there. Then when it comes time for lunch, our lunch will be served on the 1st floor, so basically very close where you enter this building, and get back to the 1st floor, and then we'll have about 1 hour and 10 minutes at your disposal. There will be enough food, but I will guarantee that there will be small queues because the place is not that, or it's kind of labyrinth, but you'll find food, I'll promise. Finally, we've got ongoing YouTube stream, and most of the talks will be recorded and released on YouTube later on. So bear that in mind. And during each and every talk, excluding this one, there's 5 minutes at the end of the talk reserved for audience questions and answers. If you can wait for those that thing to happen, you can also tweet using the hashtag DDD 2018, and I'll try to kind of check out your questions and possibly post them then when the time comes. But I think this should be enough from my side. We're basically going to be running a little bit behind the schedule in the first morning session, but we'll try to catch up when the midday comes. So, that's it. I hope you will enjoy a very nice data-driven design day, and I appreciate very highly that you've taken your time to be here, because there's over 100 Helsinki Design Week events waiting.